Well, not very much oil came out of there at all.
There's all the missing oil.
Welcome back to another exciting small engine Saturday. Yep, we're working on my custom Coleman KT196 Go Kart yet again. The plan has been to make it big enough for a normal-sized human to fit in, so in previous videos I cut and lengthened the frame some 10 inches. I updated the seating, suspension, and steering bits to better accommodate, which all still need a little bit of finishing, but that's coming up soon. So for today, I wanted to see what this engine will do. Will the original 212cc engine fire up and run? Well, this Kart has a history of having sat in the woods for a number of years before I got it, so if it has issues, it's not a big deal. I plan on upgrading to a proper motorcycle engine with manual transmission anyway. Something 200 to 250cc range should be adequate, but until I get the budget together to do that, the original engine should suffice. Since I got this car to remove the engine and it's been sitting on its side, the gas tank is crusted and the carb is a mess and I need parts, so just what am I to do? Well, I turned to HIPA. HIPA is a company that sells parts for lawnmowers and other outdoor power equipment and even has some parts for go-karts. Today we'll be using a new HIPA carburetor to fix my engine as well as a new spark plug. Currently, HIPA is running a $1 spark plug sale. Yeah, you heard that correctly. Every spark plug is $1 until January 31st. I don't think I've seen spark plugs that inexpensive since I was a kid. Check all of your spark plug sizes and all your power equipment and head over to HIPA store to stock up. Please use the HIPA store links down below in the video description, as supporting HIPA supports my YouTube projects. Thanks everyone for watching. Please don't forget to licky, comment, and subscribe, and we'll be back right after that intro. Hey, we're back today with another exciting small engine Saturday, and right here in front of me we have my KT196 Go Kart engine. I put it up here in the rack temporarily just because it's easier to work on and it was out of the way from where I'm working at. But what we're going to do today is first we're going to drain out the oil on this thing. We got to clean out the gas tank, and we have a bunch of new parts for it that HIPA has provided to us that's going to get this thing up and running. So hopefully we'll get this thing running properly in this video, and this will be the good temporary engine that'll be running on this go-kart to get it going until we take the next step, which is upgrading it, because we're certainly going to put something bigger and better on there. But meanwhile, let's see what we can do with this engine. I've got my oil pan down here, and we're going to start letting this oil out. Again, nice and convenient that it's up high. I don't like working on things down low because I'm so tall. All right, we've got our drain plug right here. See if I can get that out of there without spilling. Actually, that oil is nice and clean. Not at all what I expected. I thought it would be full of water because so was the gas tank when I got this thing. I guess they must have had the fuel switched off, which is a good thing. But yeah, that oil doesn't look nearly as bad as I would have expected. There's also not that much in there because it's not gushing out as quickly as you would think. As I said, that oil is a lot cleaner than what I expected. Yeah. So it may have received an oil change sometime before this thing was parked. And this go-kart, I think, is actually about 10 years old. There's a little thing down there on the detail sticker that shows the production date. But, yeah, it's, I guess a little older, I guess you could say, but it's been sitting in the woods behind somebody's house for a long time before I got a hold of it. Yeah, that don't look good at all. But it don't look as clean as that, which is a surprise. Yeah, it had some muck stuck to it. Well, we will let that finish draining, and I'm going to leave that partially open so that way air can get into it for whatever it's worth. That might help the oil to come out of it a little faster, because it is flowing mighty slowly. Well, not very much oil came out of there at all, but a big clump of hair did, which was kind of gross. It kind of came out and it blooped and it was hanging from a string and it was just all oil. Yeah, it was nasty. Anyway, what they would have done in the engine is anybody's guess, but as long as it didn't clog up anything. It doesn't have a technical oil pump, so I guess there's really no oil passageways for it to clog. But yeah, I guess it'll be alright. Not much oil though. Gee, I hope it wasn't run with, almost no oil in it. But who knows? After all this time of sitting, sometimes oil does disappear, whether it be a leak or whether to the air, the atmosphere. Yes, oil will evaporate, not in a large quantity, but it will. There also are bacteria and stuff that will eat these oils, and they disappear that way too. But anyway, nonetheless, this thing right here, I'm gonna let it finish dripping. It's gonna do its thing, and then I probably should flush some diesel through it, but I don't have any of that here today, so we're not gonna do that. While we're waiting on that to drain, let's go ahead and remove this gas tank. looks like. Can push this a little further this way. Get under here with the impact. Whoops, I'll lose that. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Duck, man, your impact's gonna strip it. And I think the other side is an 8mm in here. I don't know why they didn't make them all the same size, but they didn't. Alright. Come on. There it is. There should be a fuel line attached to the other side of it. Yep, that was it. Here's the fuel line. Let's see what's inside of here. Oh! Well, you guys can't see because it's dark. Try the night mode. I don't know if that's helping at all. Yeah, the night shot light is on too, but no. Well, there you go. You can see the bottom of it briefly. Yeah, it's pretty gross. The whole thing is rusted out on the inside. And it's going to need retreating or servicing to get the thing recoated and cleaned. You can hear all the rusty bits on the inside. Nothing that I can't accomplish. I did it on David's tank too, so we'll do the same thing here. Alright, this thing is dirty. Dirty, dirty. It's like all our linkage is working the way it should be though, that's good. This is our governor right here, which I can assure you, I'm going to remove. Yes, sir. Alright, looks like we got some pretty good compression on here, and I think this engine turns this way. Yeah, pull starter goes this way. Am I hitting something solid? Uh-oh. No, the engine turns the other way. My bad. It actually unwound the starter on that side. That's not what's supposed to happen. There we go. That's better. Of course, you got Biddy screaming in the background. There's that compression. Alright, that's a full revolution there. Back up to the compression again without binding on anything. That's good. Okay, here's our wiring for the kill switch. It should be pretty straightforward getting this thing going. Alright, we're gonna go get some lunch and let the oil finish dripping out of this thing. When we get back, we'll snug up the plugs and get this thing squared up while Biddy screams. Alright, let's take this air cleaner off of here. This thing is clean. Like, maybe it was never run at all or possibly replaced at some point. Very clean. Oh, but there's oil inside of it. That's interesting. That's not good. I don't know why that would be. You know what? I know why it might be. I did have this engine laying on its side for a little while. And it wasn't something I did deliberately. It's just where I had it in storage this past year. It was just laying on its side. So that's probably what happened. A little oil escaped through the intake valve. Alright. What we're doing right now is we're pulling off the carburetor assembly. Wow, why is it not removing? Oh, I see. There's another bolt on here. That wasn't on David's. That's interesting. Alright. That needs just a little bit of a cleanup. Yeah, carburetor's all full of oil. That's what it was. Rolled up on its side. Alright. Come on, Carburetor. Let go of yourself. I might have to get something to gently pry this away. There it is. Didn't take much. Oh yeah, the intake is full of all kinds of oil. That's where all our missing oil went. Wow, there's a lot of it in there. Get this linkage off of here. There is a lot of oil in there. Okay, I'm gonna tip this up and dump it out. This thing is gonna smoke a lot when it finally starts. I don't think it's going to be a one-pull wonder, but it's certainly going to be a smoky one. Now, the closest thing to me was a busted piece of Tupperware, but there's probably not going to be too much oil in there, I wouldn't imagine. Oh, shit. Yeah, I spilled most of it on the tabletop instead of in here. Anyway, there was a considerable amount in there, but it might still be on top of the piston. There it is. Throw this right in here. Plastic and all. Sorry, Greta. How dare you! Alright, inside of this carburetor, we'll pull the bowl off. Something we don't even have to do because we have a replacement part for it. Oh boy. There it is. Oh wow. Yeah, that's about what I was expecting. The easy way out is just to replace it with the HIPA part, of course. And it's not expensive either. The HIPA stuff is really quality. But yeah, that's clearly going to be an issue. Yeah, I could spend an hour or so cleaning that up, but we're not going to get into that today. I'm going to actually put this on a shelf for one of those do-laters, so that way I have a backup part for the next time I have to clean a carburetor. Meanwhile, let's get out HIPA's part, and we'll get that mounted on this engine. All right, we're gonna pull this spark plug out. Get a look at this. Probably gonna be all oily. Yep, it's oily, all right. Oh, it's got trash all over it. Oh, you know what? Some of that might be from outside. I should have cleaned around here a little better. I'm seeing there's a lot of dirt and debris right here. Yeah, what I just did was kind of foolish. I should have cleaned that off first. I didn't look. Kind of a tight spot in there to get my eyes on it. But this spark plug was definitely oily and crudded up. Okay. Well, I'm gonna wind that back in real quickly so we don't get any dirt in there. Oh, I can hear people already screaming about this and impacting on the spark plug. Duckman, did you know? Yeah, there's a lot of crud around here. Compressed air wouldn't have even gotten it. It's kind of caked in there. Yeah, I never should have taken that spark plug out. Look at all this in here. Dirt. There's dirt everywhere. Too much freaking dirt. That's out of there now. I got it. Alright. The big question I've had is, does this engine even make spark? Now, before we go any further, while we got the spark plug out, we can actually see it. We'll put this in here, prop it under here. Some people hold these things, and I don't see a reason to do that. I always manage to get zapped when I do. I'm not a big pussy, I just don't like getting zapped. Yep, there's a spark. Oh, and there's more oil coming out of the compression chamber, or combustion chamber, I should say. Alright, what we're going to do then is we're going to pull that a bunch of times and let that oil out. Get this spark plug out of here so it doesn't cook my ass. We'll pull this a bunch. As you probably know, in these engines, the throttle really doesn't control the engine speed, it just influences it. The governor is actually what controls your engine speed and, in fact, limits it. In this case, I wanted to bypass this, and probably one of the most common ways is for people to open up the case of the engine, find the governor gear, which has little weights in it, and break it and remove it, and tap and fit a bolt into the hole over here to prevent oil from coming out. But there's really no neat reason to do that. You can actually eliminate it by taking the spring, which normally attaches from the throttle to the governor, and use it as a return instead. There just happened to be a little hole over here in the cooling shroud. It looks like somebody probably drilled it at some point. That wasn't me, but it did work, so that settles my guess that this engine was probably dug into by somebody else that tried to perform similar modifications such as this. Then, in place of the spring, I installed a hard shaft. So So this little shaft now attaches between the throttle and the governor, so that way now it is hard controlled and no longer just a spring that influences it that the governor can pull against. Instead, now the spring pulls against the governor. So essentially the governor really, it's just freewheeling. You may feel it in the throttle pedal, a little bit of resistance, but it's not going to affect anything on this. And then the limiter screw that's here to prevent kids from over revving it or driving too fast, or you get a little kid, you tighten the screw way down so that way they have limited throttle. This is now actually a stop and prevents it from going too far, which works good. In addition to that, the throttle cable on these runs under and up and around this way. And it attaches here to a clamp, and then the end of the cable attaches here, which is what pulls on this part. Now, I took that loop out on purpose because the frame has been lengthened 10 inches, and that cable, all this extra slack that's in here, can be used, so I don't have to replace the cable. So what I'll do is I'll feed the cable in through here where I moved the clamp to. There just happened to be a hole for it. And then the little place that holds the cable end, which is now here, I moved that to here. So this was actually designed to have a cable running from the side, so I'm just going to reuse that instead of looping it all around, and I don't have to replace the throttle cable that way. So I mean, hey guys, anytime I can save a dime, it makes a lot of sense. So that's what we've got on here. I'm going to change out the carburetor and the spark plug on here per HIPA, because HIPA was so wonderful to send us parts, guys. That's right. HIPA is doing a $1 spark plug sale right now, and you need to check out their website. Links down below in the video description. And we're gonna boomer. Always boomer. Always boomer. Every time I'm trying to work, here comes boomer. Get out of here, boomer. Anyways, we're going to replace both the spark plug and the carburetor because both parts came from HIPA. Look at this here. Biddy's screaming in the background. We got a brand new carburetor on here. Same one that we installed on David's engine, which is the exact same engine that this is. We're going to get this sucker installed. And if I get lucky today, I may get it mounted in the cart and get the thing running. So let's see what happens. All right, well, cool. Here we go. All right, we had this carburetor off before. I put it back on just so I can get the linkage to work properly on it. So this old carburetor now comes off permanently. Look at that. There we go. That out of there. Fuel line and everything, all one piece. Out she goes. And here comes the yucky gasket that was behind it too. Why is that stuck? Get out of there. Get there. Come on. There it goes. Alright, good. Alright. Now in the HIPA package, we have brand new gaskets because they were so wonderful to supply everything that it takes to install this. And actually, the old gasket is still on here. How about that? Let's just pull that right out of there. And it came off in one piece without leaving much behind. Boy, them roos are just being obnoxious because they started to hear my voice. They were quiet before that. But they react to me. They know who Daddy is. There's only one way it fits. Otherwise it will conflict with the other components that are in the general area. Wonderful thing about these HIPA carburetors is they come pre-configured. You need to do nothing to them. Just bolt them on. Screws and everything are already adjusted. I didn't believe that myself until I saw it on David's go-kart. I was a skeptic, of course. Oh man, I have a little trouble here due to my modifications. This on here. Go. Put this spring in there. Right. One more gasket on the back side, which currently appears to be missing. Previous owner stuff, guys. That goes on here just like that. Then, somewhere over here, we've got the choke lever. And that should operate our choke. It does. Alright. This engine needs a good bath. We'll do that after we get it running, because I like to get the engine warmed up before I spray degreaser on it. In fact, I believe that's what the instructions tell you for a lot of degreasers. Warm up the engine first. Put that right on there. Like that. And then we need to put our nuts back on. I think I dropped one a minute ago. No, it's right here. Uh-oh, Duckman. Did you know you could... I should have put this fuel line on first, too. You know what? We're not going to do that because that crappy fuel tank isn't going on there yet. So I'm going to run a temporary fuel tank into this thing and get it running. Alright. Otherwise, this looks good. Let's go ahead and get our spark plug out of there. HIPA is awesome, you guys. They actually brand their own spark plugs. Alright, well, we're going to get the sucker installed in here. I know you guys are just going to love me using an impact on a spark plug. Oh, Duckman! One of those things I'd rather get the threads started by hand. You don't want to power these things in. That was something my small engine shop mechanic teacher in high school taught me. That ought to be enough. Put our cap back on. Excellent. All right. Let's get this thing mounted back in the frame. Let's see if it starts. Something I had forgotten to demonstrate was not only putting the drain plug back in, but also putting some oil into this engine. Not going to run it without oil, right, guys? That would be pretty amateurish. These things, I think, take about half a quart. It's a brand new quart of Castrol. It's 1040, but 1040 or 1030 will work just fine for this temperature. There's no easy way to read the side of it. Oh well. The other way to do it is fill it up until it drips out of the fill hole. Now the chickens are fighting. Yep, that's it. That got it. It took almost, I don't know, 2/3 of a quart. Oh, I got it threaded on the first try. As Carl from Carl's Creek knows, that little guy can be a real son of a bitch to get threaded in right. I don't believe I got it on the first try. They're always finicky. Especially on this chassis because this faces the frame and it's like really hard to reach in there and yeah. Pain in the ass. Alright, here we go. Alright, I got my engine mount bolts. There's two. Isn't that cute? Two. That's it. One is essentially like a swing arm, and the other one actually works on the chain tensioner, which actually lifts and drops the engine to snug that chain up. Alright. Okay, I gotta get the chain on there too, but I think I can get that after the engine is mounted. Of course, we're going in without the gas tank, as I said before, because the gas tank is disgusting. Huh. That's interesting. Always something's gonna screw you up, right? Looks like the tabs aren't wide enough to get the engine in there. Always something, man. Maybe I accidentally hit it with a hammer or something. Now that's not an accident. Probably won't need it. Yep, perfect. Alright, one long bolt. Well, there's a little bit of this. This thing has been sitting outside in the weather. That was it. Just give it a little lube. Just like most other things in life, if it doesn't want to go in, spit on it first. Okay. I'll snug that up in a minute. One here on the rear. I'm going to lube this the same way. I think we're in a spot now. I don't think I need to snug it up any more than that just to get it running. See if it's going to run at all, or if I have to take it back out again. Here's the dash with the kill switch. Let's hook that up. I don't know if it's going to be necessary or not to make it work. A kill switch technically should be a short circuit and not an open circuit. So I may be able to run it without it, but that goes in there like that. Oh yes, and the throttle cable reaches perfectly as I intended it. That is ideal, man. Perfect. That is going to work out just fine. Okay, I'll still use that if I want to. Also, let's get my temporary fuel tank. We're going to put it up here. All right, I got this gas tank from a mower. If I had it in my right mind, I probably would just mount this on the frame somewhere and not bother with the metal tank. But the metal tank's going to be part of this engine anyway. And then the next engine, you know, I might wind up using this tank. Who knows? I guess we'll see. Of course, I'm talking again, and now the birds are making noise. That's what they do every time. All right. Tank up here. Run our fuel line through basket. Turn this on to make sure it flows. Oh shit. Yes, it flows. Didn't mean to make a mess. Alright. Need to run that into the fuel inlet on the carburetor, which is a little hard to get to. The air cleaner's still on there. Making a mess over here, but it's just dripping out. Alright, that's on. Change our choke to on. Change our fuel to on. Turn this fuel on. We got flow. There it goes. Whoop, into that carburetor. Alright, let's check for leaks. If no leaks, I think we're good. Throw the air cleaner back on there just because, in case it backfires, so it doesn't blow up in my face. Get this fuel line out of the way of both the exhaust and the throttle. Or Pullstart, I should say. Throttle. I guess also the throttle. That's kind of in the way of the throttle, no matter what, isn't it? That's better. It's still attached under there. Okay. I think we're good. In the run position. We're choked. Fuel is on. Alright. This is going to be our first start. You notice I'm handling the exhaust, so I have not tried to fire this thing up yet. Here we go. Oh! There's all that oil still in that cylinder when this thing was laying on its side. Hopefully it doesn't foul the plug, but it is trying to start. Turn that choke off a little bit. Probably needs a little more throttle. Well, it's running. Still got a lot of smoke though because there's still oil in there. Alright, I'm gonna have to tighten down those engine bolts because guess why? Yep, they vibrated out. Well, I have to be careful now because everything on this is really hot. But yeah, adjusting that idle screw was what it needed. Still needs to blow the rest of that oil out. I mean, it's all over everything now. What a mess. Probably all over me even. Alright, well, we're gonna put these screws back in, or bolts back in I should say, and we'll be back in just a minute. I had a hard time racking my brain on this thing. I couldn't figure out what was wrong, and it turned out the factory seal that was going between the carburetor and the head just wasn't necessary. I just used the HIPA gaskets instead of using this thing because I thought this was necessary due to its shape with the cutouts in it, but no, absolutely not. And it turned out it might have even been in the wrong place anyway because it looks like that was supposed to have been on the air cleaner side. Nonetheless, it's out. Watch this. Turn it on. One pull. It helps if bring that idle up just a little bit. But doesn't that sound much better? And it revs like crazy. Because no governor! Let's see how it starts now with the idle in the position it's in. Yeah. Looks like it, oh, you know what? The choke is still like half on and stuff. And the fuel's not even all the way on. Yeah, well that's gonna cause problems. Let's try it now. Much better, without doing anything. This is a mixture screw here. Yeah. Oh, this runs good. Alright, let me show you how we're hooking up that throttle cable. Alright, we've got the throttle cable routed up. Yeah, it looks like we may have a little conflict in here of moving parts. I'm going to have to find a way to tie this up so that way it doesn't hit any of this stuff and get in the way. Because if it's down here, it could hold the throttle open. Alright, we'll fix that. Nonetheless, it's now pinched here with the clamp as opposed to back here because I moved it to a different location. This cable should go. Boy, it's hot over here. Really hot over here, guys. And I know you guys can't see what I'm trying to show you. There we go. Pull that through. And then give this cable a little tug just to be sure that, ow. Ooh, that cable got hot just from leaning on an exhaust nut for a few seconds. And just like that, lock them down. 10mm wrench. I grabbed for the 3/8 because I'm an idiot. 3/8 and 10mm is not the same size. I don't care what anybody on YouTube says. Alright, that should work. If I step on the throttle pedal, it does exactly what it's supposed to do. Okay. Let's put this air cleaner back on here. Wow, you guys, we're getting really close to getting this thing for a test ride. This thing runs great. I'm kind of impressed that this thing has been sitting for so long and it starts up so easily. That's it. Runs great. So now next on the agenda, I gotta start looking at the foot controls. In the last video, a lot of people wanted to talk about the pedals, telling me I have to move them and I gotta do this. You guys are steps ahead of me, man. You gotta wait for me to catch up with that. I was showing steering and you guys want to talk about the pedal assembly. Really? Really? Let me show you what we got as far as the pedals are concerned now, because now I'm just about at that point I need to start moving things around and figuring out what we're gonna do next. So let's have a look. Okay, clearly the pedal cluster here, well, not really a cluster, they're individual pedals, are pushed all the way over to the left when they technically should be to the right. The left side, I should have a clutch pedal here because I'd like to put a motorcycle engine on it, and that means in the future we're going to need some kind of clutch pedal too. So what I'll probably do is, you can buy these pedal assemblies online. They're not too expensive either. What I'll probably do is I'll just get a third one, mount it there. That way I'll have my brake, my gas, and my clutch all ready to go. So I don't have to move these gas pedals like everybody is trying to tell me, trying to get steps ahead of me, telling me how to do things. Instead, I'm just going to install a third one and be done with it. Worst case scenario, I might move the brake a little closer to the gas pedal, but I kind of like the clutch where it's at. I want that a little further over to the left. But from quick heel-to-toe stuff, you know, generally you'd want your brake a little closer to your gas pedal. But we'll see. There's plenty of spacing on here to be able to move things around. This dead pedal in here for the passengers is going to go away. I'd have to cut that out, of course. Otherwise the pedals would hit it. Currently this throttle does work because we just hooked that up. So we're way ahead of where we were. I'm very, very pleased. This is my lengthened brake line. I did buy one that was about a foot longer because remember we extended the frame 10 inches, so I did need a longer brake line. And I do have a brand new master cylinder over here because the old one that was on this thing was seized up. I got a brand new one to install. There it is. And this is a direct bolt-in. I can probably order a second one of those also. And that means I can install a hydraulic clutch. So I'll use one for the brake and I'll use one for the clutch. There are clutch slave cylinders made for ATVs and certain motorcycle engines, so that's probably what I'll invest in. But that's what we got as far as pedal cluster is concerned. I should maybe start attempting to bleed them brakes out, see if I can get those going, because once I get this ball joint in here and I finish up the welding on the steering, it's ready for a ride after that, because we're mostly together. Well, I'm quite happy. Oh, I need to finish welding up the frame too. Let's talk about the frame. Yeah. You might remember once again we lengthened 10 inches in the bottom here, and that means the cage was not going to fit on this thing. So I raised the cage up because this was directly within my eyesight. And that was the trouble when I was riding and my eyes were right in line with this. So I raised it up about 3 inches, and there's your 3-inch raised. 1, 2 more on that side. And as far as the front is concerned, I didn't raise that at all. I let it be. But I took the entire cage then and just pushed it forward as far as it would go to its limits. And once it was stretched, then I installed, I think it was a 9.5-inch component in the top up here. And they're not welded in completely yet. I just kind of messy tacked them in just to see if this was going to work. And when I sat in it, it seemed to work out for me. So I think that's going to be just fine. So I'm quite happy with the way everything's coming together on this. And that means we're just about done for today. So I got to wrap this up and I got to get some work done on the 1967 Volkswagen bus frame that I have up front, because I want to do some suspension work on that. So you'll see that if you haven't already seen that this week. I might be releasing these videos out of order, but that's just the way it goes. So there we are, running engine. I'm just so happy with this. Look, we're gonna do it one-handed. One-handed. There you go, power on. Grab the cord and pull. Not bad. That gas pedal should work, of course. There it is. Making progress. So don't forget, you guys, licky, likey, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to plug that dingle bell so you get updates every time I upload a video. Check out that shit down there for all my different social media links. Thanks for watching, you guys, and a big shout out to HIPA. Links down below in the video description, so that way you can get lawnmower and power equipment parts for yourself. That's right. The reason why this runs so good, it's their carburetor. I know it is. Thanks everyone for watching. Whoops, turn that night shot off. Night shot shouldn't be on. Turn the night shot off. There it is. Thanks for watching, everyone. See you next time. Well, do my neighbors like me is a question I got asked all the time on account of me making so much noise here in the neighborhood. Well, do they? Well, yeah. because I fixed their shit, guys. Anytime somebody has something wrong, they bring it to me. Anyway, this thing, it broke the exhaust studs off. I should be able to get that stud out and put some new bolts in there. And also the cage is missing a bolt, so there's nothing that won't take very long to fix. I'm not even gonna make a video about it, but I've seen these kids run this thing around the neighborhood a lot, so I'm familiar with it. I see it around. Hopefully I'll get mine up soon and we can race them. Yeah, man. All right, well, we'll take care of that. Get that thing straight, and I'll give you a video update when we get it together. And by the way, this thing has a nice soft suspension up front, just like the way mine is supposed to have been. It never was. And this thing is also stiff in the rear. How about that? So apparently the KT196, which is very similar in design, sitting right there, very similar in design to this kart. In fact, it looks like it has some of the same parts. Was all wrong. This one appears they did things right. Okay, well, we're gonna get this fixed up for them.